Yo. Hi there, this is Archetype Moon with Star Sign Astrology coming to you in this incredibly potent, blood red supermoons, a total lunar eclipse. So we're having a total lunar eclipse visible by North and South America. This will be happening January 20th. Again, it's going to be visible with North and South America from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. It'll be a partial lunar eclipse for Africa and parts of the UK. That will happen around the 21st. So this is a huge culmination of a cycle and a grand ceremony that we've been in with this Leo and Aquarius axes. The nodes of the moon have been in Leo and Aquarius for the last 18 months. They've just shifted into Capricorn and Cancer, and yet this full moon comes into the zero degrees of Leo right when the sun enters into Aquarius. And so to me, it's this magical moment where all of these eclipses, where all of this work over the last 18 months is coming to this culmination. It's coming to conjunct the north node of the moon, so that means it's propelling us into the future. You know, this is going to be a highly emotional, highly personal eclipse for us all. There's a lot of players here and a lot of energy really preparing us and really propelling us into a new direction of how we embody our authentic essence and our joy. And this is going to be big for relationships. This is big for just every individual to really step into who they're really meant to be in. So let's talk about that. So eclipses are like these portals. They pop us into these new dimensions of reality in our life, alternate pathways, sudden and unexpected changes sometimes. They are also connected to the north and the south nodes of the moon, always highlighting that kind of evolutionary journey that we're on. The south node represents that which we're karmically attached to, the things that we're meant to heal and look at and kind of uncover where our lower octave expressions of these archetypes are coming from, and the wounds surrounding that and all the patterns that keep us there. And the north node of the moon is asking our souls to evolve into that archetype, bring it into its highest expression, uncover what keeps us in the lower octave expression of the south node, and then what is keeping us from actually expressing that north node calling. So when these eclipses happen, the moon is conjuncting the south node or the north node, kind of highlighting what we'll be focusing on. It's also highlighting, is it going to be a closing? Is it going to be this new opening? But really, with change, there's always this kind of letting go and this release and this also opening into this new chapter and this new way of being, you know, this new reality. And just like the north and the south node, we're always healing our south node and moving away from it, but never to truly forsake it or be done with it. It's bringing the gifts of the south node, bringing the gifts of what we're letting go and moving away from into this new chapter and this new direction of what our heart is truly calling for. And so in January, we hit this new year with all of this Capricorn, heavy, 7, no, maybe was it 5 planets in Capricorn. And it's heavy, it's deep, it's intense, it's do the work, it's think about the things that need to be done and do them, take on responsibility. It's look at the power, look at the duties, get the shit done, create the structures, you know? And the solar eclipse was conjuncting the south node of the moon, meaning right in January when we're wanting to start this new year out, it quickly is asking us to let go of some things. Be working in this process of what are we letting go of? Look at power dynamics. Look at our places where we've given power away. Where do we need to reclaim our power? Where do we need to really do the work to step into creating the life that we want, right? And then now we're here with the full moon, and it's the full moon is coming in Leo, conjuncting the north node right in Cancer. And so it's really highlighting this beautiful moment really of the last year and a half of Leo Aquarius, of the North Node and the South Node of the Moon being in Aquarius and Leo. And we've been working on healing, like our traumas, our patterns, our roles, our places where we disassociate and we like flee and we run, or the places where we like are overwhelmed by our roles and our emotions and we fracture ourselves and we vacate and abandon ourselves, leaving us out of body, out of connection with who we truly are, out of like our authentic joy and like ability to like be in pleasure and our ability to create and express like our true essence and our true like soul's like calling. You know, Leo is like, this is who I am, I'm gonna shine that. This is the sun, I'm gonna shine that essence, you know? And so it's really been this time of healing those places where we don't know who we are and we don't know how to express it and we shut ourselves down. And it's been really looking at the karmic wounds of Aquarius, of our trauma and our fear and our roles and obligations and our patterns, our self-imposed limitations, you know, that can be projected onto everything around us and all the people and all the situations. But really it's like, how are we limiting ourselves? How are we fracturing ourselves from that heart connection and to shine and express that? And this is like the ultimate call of like, get into your own like liberated essence and like heart song, you know? And it's conjuncting the North Node that has now moved into Cancer. And so what that means to me is that it's like, heal your emotions, like let the wounds of childhood, let the wounds of instability and insecurity and like your emotional needs, like be heard. Let them be felt. Let them rise up to the surface to be healed, so that we can like move into a place of like shining that Leo essence, like bringing our authentic joy and like what we've come here to create and like be, and also just like express. And like, to me, what we need to do in order to truly be that is ultimately healing those wounds, like healing those deep childhood trauma wounds, healing our imbalances of giving and receiving, healing those patterns that like give and give and give and we don't like receive, or we push that away that we want. We blame and we sabotage our own needs from being met, you know? And so this is a time of like bringing our emotional intelligence into like alignment with our authentic joy, our expression, with who we are. And like by the means of doing that was like uncovering that Capricorn, that misuse of power. Where have we given our energy and our power away? How can we draw ourselves back into our core and our center to ultimately like hold space for that inner child of Cancer, that inner feminine that wants to receive and have healing and a high emotional intelligence to have those needs met, and like that Leo, that artist, that performer that wants to like express its gift and like its authentic nature, you know? Sometimes that's joy and sometimes that's fiery and on stage and everyone's like, oh my God, you're shining. And sometimes it's like, ooh, I need to like express the awkwardness that I feel. I need to express the pain or the fear I feel to like get myself back into my body and my heart, so that actually I can move into those like more yummy places of like joy and expression and power, you know? So it's been a real big journey of healing this Leo Aquarius axis. You know, the Aquarius like feels disconnected and isolated and can be out of body, it's observing, you know, and that Leo is like, step back into your body, step back into your heart, even if there's density there. That Cancer is like, let that density rise up, let those emotions rise up and like heal them, be real with them, express and give voice to them, you know? And it's like, are we doing it in a way that like pushes and blames and shames and sabotages and leaves our relationships and our whatever? Or are we like, hey, I see my own place in this. Like, how can I liberate myself because like we have these amazing, like powerful initiators that are also here to support this radical eclipse, you know, that's highlighting that Leo Aquarius, it's highlighting that Cancer Capricorn. And we have Uranus that's squaring the nodes of the moon there to like shake it up, bring in a high energy that is like ready to like give you tremendous urge and surge to shift patterns, to like bring up trauma, but also like open to a higher perspective. Like Uranus strikes down through all of that foundation. It strikes down through our life and like breaks it all up, shakes it all up. And what we can do is like be tremendously afraid. We can like start having all this panic and all this like welling up of trauma. Again, highlighting the trauma of Aquarius, the wounds of Cancer, the inner child, and like the fear of abandonment or whatever is coming up. But really it's like, can we see through the illusion of our own trauma? Can we see through that and find a way to open to like a higher perspective of how we can change and like liberate ourselves in these patterns, liberate, renew and rebirth our relationships, you know, rebirth ourselves no matter what our external reality is doing, no matter what our partner is doing and our jobs or our money or our government or whatever is happening that's like rattling and unearthing the foundations of who you are. Because Uranus being in Aries is like, it's shaking up who we think we are. The moon in Leo is like, who are you in your authentic core essence? The Venus conjuncting Jupiter is like in Sagittarius being like, how are you aligned to your purpose? Like, are you connected to your higher calling? Is your ego, the ego of your fire of Aries and Leo, drawing yourself into that Sagittarius fire of like higher perspective, higher learning, higher understanding and purpose in this world, you know? And like Mars is in Aries as well, and so we have like this, we have a lot of fire to like aspect this eclipse right now. We have a lot of fire that's asking for our egos, that's asking for like the core of who we are to come back to ourselves. Like draw all of our attention back in, you know, draw all of our power everywhere that we've like put that power outside and we've given ourselves away. We need to like call it back in and like let it touch all those places. Let it touch all those wounds, all those patterns that keep us from expressing who we are, and also let who we are be liberated. Let who we are be in alignment with our true calling and essence, with our true desires. And sometimes we gotta weed through the shit to get through that, like, what is that desire after it's been like burnt down and alchemized and let go of and then reclaimed and like unearthed. Move through the shame, let go of the shame and the guilt around our desires, and actually come into like allowing those pure desires of our intuition come forth. And it's like, it's been a time of really healing, it's been a time of shaking up, and it's a time of confusion. Like Venus in Sagittarius conjuncting Jupiter is like making that call, you know, to be ourselves, to be in our purpose, to be in alignment really strong, really hitting home, like bringing our relationships into alignment with our purpose and our calling, bringing who we are in every relationship, in every part of our life, drawing it together. You know, Aquarius can be fractured into many different places, but Leo says draw it all into the heart. Bring all the past and the future parts of you into the present and align yourself. And Venus is being squared by Neptune. It's like, Neptune is like in Pisces. Connect and know your higher connection to all that is. Know your place in the greater cosmos, you know? and it's being squared. And so it's like this confusion of like, what direction do I need to go in? This confusion of like, you know, is it the relationship, or is it the job, or is it a different thing entirely? Like, am I on the right path or am I not? Do I feel connected, or is it just this other role, or is it this other thing that I put my connection and my worth into? It's like all of that is coming up, you know? And it's like, this is a time of like being in this kind of like ceremony of like, we're not through the birth canal, like we're in it, you know? And so this is a time of being okay and being graceful with that unstabilizing, being graceful with that confusion, and like being real with all the parts of you so that you can kind of like bring them in and start to like hold them dear and close to your heart, and like really like get in touch, like drawing them all into your center to get in touch with what you're meant to do, to get in touch with like where you're really meant to go, like how are things really wanting to shift and transform. You know, this is the time of like making decisions, and also like decisions being made for us. And so this is a time of like letting go of that control and ultimately drawing ourselves into that still place inside, and like listening for those subtle rhythms of our heartbeat, of that pulse, of that like fire again, and being like, okay, step this way. Okay, step this way. Okay, extend here. Oh no, is that in my center? Okay, draw back. Wait for it to be in your center. You know, so that we're not just reacting, and we're not just trying to control and put it back together, put the pieces back together, and we're not trying to like, you know, make it happen a certain way. And we're also not reacting so that we're creating more karma, we're releasing more, and we're sabotaging more, and we're pushing away, and we're just creating the same old pattern to find ourselves back around. But instead it's like, use that light of Uranus, that transformation that's seeking to come, but use it to also like open up our perception, you know, to see through the illusions of our own traumas and our own separations and our own like tendency towards controlling and towards all the things that we find ourselves in. And ultimately, like, what is it that makes my heart like sing right now? What is it that my soul is calling? And how can I open up to like moving in that direction? And like watching it change your whole life. Like watching the reality shift. Watching the veils part. You know. This is a time also with Chiron trining this eclipse. It's like bringing in this deep and watery like call of liberating that Pisces. Chiron is in Pisces in its last degrees, and so to me it's like, what is keeping you from your connection to yourself, to your higher self, your connection to God or to spirit? It's like connection to love, to like perfection in the imperfection. It's like union, you know? And it's like when it's wounded, it's like highlighting those places where we feel disconnected, where we disconnect, where others sabotage and disconnect from us, where we feel taken away from the magic, where we feel taken away from God and abandoned, where we feel fearful, you know? And so this is a time where it's bringing in that call for also spiritual connection, to also connection to all that is and a higher calling, as well as our ego calls of like, I want to embody it in this life. I want to embody it in this relationship. I want to embody it in this my work and in my body, you know? It's like fire is like ego, being tested, being humbled, and also being initiated. And it's got that high octave of Pisces saying, I want it to mean something. I want it to be beyond this body, beyond this reality. I want it ultimately to connect me to something deeply sustaining, deeply fulfilling, so that I'm not just reaching and I'm clinging to this thing that gives me that feeling of connection to this other or this role or this person or this substance that like gives me that quick fix for that spirit. It's like unearthing those parts of our soul that have been fractured and disconnected and that have been reaching outside and giving ourselves away for that quick fix, and instead meet that part of you where it's at. Meet that addicted, meet that like hungry, starving, disconnected, fearful, abandoned part of you where it's at, and like draw that into true fulfillment and connection. When you find yourself reaching for that vice, when you find yourself reaching out of fear, instead allow yourself to like change that pattern. Allow yourself to not reach out of your center for this thing that might give you the endorphins for the moment, but instead like fill yourself up with you. Let spirit fill you up with something that's real, you know. Be open to your soul revealing to you what that is, because we might be illusioned when Venus and Neptune are squared. We might feel confused of what that is and what pathway to take and what to really do, but like ultimately it's like draw yourself into yourself. That's the message I keep getting. It's like bring it all home. Bring it all home to you. Like the way we heal from these things that we lose, and these people and the relationships, the deaths and the changes and the cycles when they close and when they rebirth. It's like the way that we heal from those changes in life is always coming into a deeper connection with our own being. And ultimately when we go so deep inside of our own self, it just brings us straight up to that deep connection to like all that is, to that deep connection that is like always there, that like higher self soul that knows that connection to source. And so with that, may this eclipse, as potent, as confusing, as maybe traumatizing, revealing, as shaking up and shifting as it may be, may you keep your center. May you draw yourself even deeper into your center, and ultimately do you. Like ultimately heal that Leo. Like open into that expressive, authentic heart, and like call yourself into a deep connection with like your own essence and your own purpose. Blessings. Don't be afraid to like pop in to another world.